Hey, darling. So we're going to talk about something that is very close to my heart, and of course it must be close to your heart too. That is the issue of freedom. What is freedom? How do we make freedom for ourselves? How do we define what free looks like? And do we have the courage to move towards a life of freedom? Obviously, it is clear in the way that I've lived my life and I've made my choices that freedom is probably the highest value that I have, other than basic love and caring for other people. Freedom is huge for me. I've made all of my life decisions in service of what feels to me like freedom. And so what I would love to encourage you to do is, now it might seem confusing if I say define what freedom means. I think that sounds kind of simplistic. I don't want you to do that, but I want you to think about what freedom might feel like, how that might look. Who are you associating with when you imagine freedom? How do you set up your life in a way that feels free, in a way that feels open, right? And so we're going to call this session Freedom Planning, how to plan your freedom. Because I know, it's very easy to say, like, go out there, hustle, start a business. But if you don't understand the end game, if you don't understand what this is all about, it is not about, at least in my case, and I would encourage you to see it similarly, it's not about the money. It's really not. Yes, it's lovely that I was able to make however much from home today. That was great. But even lovelier than that is that I can spend time with whomever I want. I can wake up whenever I want. I can go to bed at an ungodly hour, which I go to bed at every night. I need to work on that. And I don't have to be subjected to people that I don't like. I don't have to be under anyone else's control. I don't have to ask for permission to do anything. And for me, that feels like freedom, to be able to go and come. Spent the last 3 summers in New York. I spend my time with my entrepreneur friends that I deeply love and respect who are doing interesting things. That is my version of freedom. And I want to give you a couple pointers today, because your vision of freedom will totally shape the way that you build your business, right? You might look online and say, oh, everybody believes that the thing that we should be doing here is making millions and millions and millions of bucks. Well, yes, it would be lovely to make millions and millions of bucks. But in service of what, right? Having it in your account alone is not enough to get you to the point that you feel satisfied. And, you don't just want money. It's possible that, our media influences the biggest, most amazing thing they can imagine for themselves is money. We're going to think even bigger. Money is fancy, okay? Do you know what's even fancier? Freedom. Freedom is fancier. And yes, sometimes, a lot of the time, money buys you freedom. Money is ease. Money means I can put a vote. I can vote. Let's say, my friend is having a rough time. I can use my vote to help her with money, and I can help her create ease. And so that is lovely and delicious. The fact that I can choose the clients that I work with. A lot of people would like to work with me, and I only have so much time. And I only have so much desire to, I want to dive in with people that I really love and care about and respect. And so I have the luxury to be able to choose who I associate with. For me, that's freedom, right? So when it comes to planning for your freedom, it's so important that, one, you actually prioritize freedom. I think that a lot of the time we're just comfortable. We're kind of comfortable in the discomfort. Perhaps it's a job you don't like. Perhaps it's a boss you don't like. Perhaps it is a partnership that doesn't really feed your soul, and you're sort of just sticking around because it's the easier thing to do. Freedom happens when we are honest with ourselves. Freedom happens when we are brave, okay? Bravery creates freedom. And so when you are presented with the opportunity, and these days we present ourselves with the opportunity. When you're presented with the opportunity to pick the brave thing or the afraid thing, that's when you decide who you'll become. And that's when you decide, am I choosing freedom or enslavement to somebody else's way of doing things? And, this is not to say, if you are an employee at all, that means that you can't live a free life. For a lot of people, that's freedom, to know that they're getting a regular paycheck, that at the end of the day, You know, my little sister feels like this, that at the end of the day, you know, while I'm still working till some like ungodly hour, she can, you know, end her workday at 4 or 5 p.m. and then she doesn't have to think about working. For her, that feels like freedom. She doesn't want to be an entrepreneur. That's totally cool. I don't care what manifestation, what form freedom takes for you. It's not up to me to tell you that. It's up to you to decide, you know, what would feel good. Okay, so let me offer a couple questions that can help you decide what freedom is for you, right? Sometimes if we don't have complete clarity of exactly what we want to go towards, it is useful to look at what we don't want, okay? So for myself, I don't want to have to check a schedule that somebody else made to determine when I can do what. Like, so if a friend calls me and says, I want to hang out, I don't have to say, let me just go check my schedule, my work schedule, right? I don't have to do that. I say, you know what? I do feel like going to the nude beach today. Let's go. And so, you know, look at what you don't want, and you can build a version of freedom off of that, right? For me, time freedom, location freedom. I feel very like nomadic in my spirit. I love adventures, and I get a little bit restless. Honestly, I get a lot restless. I get a lot restless when I'm in one place for too long. So I don't, and maybe this is weird, but I don't care. You know, like, I don't want to sign a 12-month lease right now, at least in this point in my life. I don't want to be in one place for 1 year. I like to be able to go and come and travel and book a plane ticket on a whim. I like the fact that if I want to right now, I can pick a random country and live there for a year without having to work that whole period of time. I can do that right now if I want to, you know. Those kind, like, freedom is fancy. Freedom is a fancy, fancy luxury in life. And it's something that I want to encourage you. Like, you might say, like, duh, it's a no-brainer. Of course I want freedom. But the truth is, and as with everything, I say this with love, there is likely a part of you that resists freedom, that resists it. And I can only say this to you because I say it to myself too, right? The thing is that freedom is scary. And to be free, you have to take a lot of responsibility in life. You really do. Because, you know, you wake up in the morning and nobody's telling you what to do. To craft, to design a life, it's kind of a scary prospect, and I understand that. But there's so much joy that comes along with it. And so if you are in a safe spot that you don't really feel alive in, then it would be beneficial to make the decision in favor of freedom. Now, I must qualify this by saying, I don't want you to be out homeless on the streets. I don't want you to be suffering, but there is definitely a way that you can make a kind of freedom for yourself where you have safety nets. So, for example, we make sacrifices for our freedom, right? So I lived at home with my parents probably longer than I wanted to because of the fact that, you know, business is very risky, especially as you're starting out before you have automated all the processes, right? It can be really risky. 1 month paycheck could be amazing. Well, next month, nothing. And it's funny, I sometimes joke with friends, the line between self-employed and unemployed is very fine, because a lot of the time you're doing work that you're not being compensated for, at least right at that moment, and you're playing a long-term game, but part of you is probably freaking out in the process, like, oh God, is this going to work? Oh God, what's going to happen, right? And that's totally understandable. I really do understand. You know, I can really relate to this, especially because, oh my God, I don't know why my nose is itchy. I can really relate to this because of the fact that, like, when I was changing my business model, when I went from one-on-one coaching, which was comfortable, trust me, and that's why I can say this with love to you. I've made a lot of moves that felt uncomfortable, but in the direction of bravery and in the direction of freedom. It was comfortable, trust me. I was nicely fully booked with coaching clients, one-on-one clients, for 5-6 years, since I was 19 or 20. And it was great. And especially early on, it felt like freedom. I was like, oh, wow, you know, my friends are getting a job, and I'm making my schedule, and I'm making my rates, and I'm making my terms, and I'm making my client relationships, and I'm doing all that, right? And it's lovely. But the truth is that at a certain point I got burnt out, and it is emotionally exhausting because you are giving so much of yourself, you are giving so much love, And, you know, you don't get to have an off day. You know, what they're paying for is access to your best expertise, your best guidance, your best love. And I wouldn't feel right about giving anything other than my best. So that is emotionally exhausting work. And so it would have been the less brave and more safe thing to do to stick with that business model and just do that forever. But the dollars for hours model can hurt you. It really can, because at a certain point, you want to buy your time back. You're like, okay, great. Now people are giving me money for my time. I want my time. And, you know, having the time, you know, to do what you want is a huge luxury. That's a huge, huge luxury. And so, you know, you have to decide. You have to decide what kind of freedom you want to pursue at that moment. I decided the kind of freedom that I wanted to pursue was building more passive assets so that, you know, I had multiple levels of offerings, and working with me one-on-one with the amount of expertise that I have is the most exclusive, highest level of my offering. As a result, some people are not going to be able to afford that, and that's totally fine, because I don't want to work with everyone, right? And the cool thing is, having lower level offerings, you know, less expensive offerings, allows me to leverage my time better. And, you know, trust me, it was scary, especially because, you know, you can't really hold on to like, what we would love to do is hold on to the last thing while we're searching for the new thing. And I mean, we can use any kind of example of like a partner. You're like, let me just hold on to this last partner and just while I search, or let me just hold on to this last job while I search. I kind of have that picture in my mind of like Tarzan swinging from branch to branch, right? And you sort of want to hold on to a branch until you're close to the other branch so you can hold on to that, right? Well, darling, the truth is you're never going to be 100% fully into it until you burn the boats. And I find that this expression can be sort of simplistic to say burn the boats because, well, what happens if you're like out on the streets begging? Like that's burn the boats. But, you know, you also have to survive and you also have to be okay, right? So what I would highly recommend is taking an inventory of your safety nets and building your safety net. So for example, for me, one of my safety nets was living at home for a good part of my early 20s, right? And trust me, yes, I had savings. I really would have loved to, you know, be partying it up downtown throughout my early 20s. But instead, I picked a longer-term vision, longer-term freedom. I had pockets, I had moments, I had, you know, let's say a 4-month stay in downtown Toronto, or, you know, I went to New York and I had all these like, you know, these moments of pleasure and joy and things like that along the way. So I'm not saying be like a nun and withhold everything from yourself. Of course not. I'm pro pleasure. I'm pro joy. I'm anti suffering. That's not necessary. Definitely. But you need to build safety nets. And one safety net for me was if I didn't have to pay rent every single month, that meant that I could take bigger risks with my business. So I could ask for more for my clients. If they said no, I wasn't going to starve. I wasn't going to be out on the streets, right? And yes, safety, like that is a sacrifice. Another safety net. Listen, I'm not saying go quit your job necessarily right now. If you having your job funds your future freedom, if you having a side job gives you the money to initially invest in your own business, or it gives you some kind of routine, then that's wonderful. And you want that, great. So, but there are certain things that you don't need that you can build a cushion for yourself. For example, like, what are you wasting money on? Like, you know, you could pay $100 on, I don't know, going to get a massage, or you can spend that $100 investing in your dream, investing in someone teaching you, right? And so one other kind of freedom is having your fuck you money. What's your fuck you money? Your fuck you money is, I spend time with people that deserve to spend time with me. And if you and I can't make healthy boundaries, if I don't feel respected, if this relationship doesn't work for us, for example, your boss, right? To be able to say, you know what, I can stand on my own 2 feet. I don't need anyone. And to have your fuck you money that you can walk away and say, you know what, with all due respect, I think it's better that we part ways. That's a kind of freedom. And by the way, another reason that you want to have your safety nets is because you don't want to ever show up in your business desperate. Part of the reason, well, honestly, there are a lot of reasons that people trust me, and they should trust me because I'm trustworthy. But one reason is because I'm not pushy and I'm not needy. The truth is, yes, I would love to have you as a client if we are compatible to work together, but I don't need you. And because of that, people don't feel like I'm like leaning in too much, like breathing down their throat, pushing, like, come on, let's do it. I'm not like that. Because I honestly, if it's not a hell yes on your part, it's not a hell yes on my part. And so, not having that sense of neediness helps you sell yourself with confidence, right? If you think, oh God, I need this potential client, they don't say yes to me, I'll be out on the street. That's not freedom. And so I want to encourage you to think about what feels like freedom to you. What do you not want? What feels good? What do you think about at night when you're thinking you're very courageously? That's sort of like that chutzpah, that audacity to say, if I could, and sometimes this is something we don't even admit out loud, like I really would love to start this, taco stand by the beach in Hawaii. I don't know, weird Hawaiian taco stand. Like the thing that you dare to dream when you're feeling brave, that thing can support your dreams. That thing can be your reality. And if you think all of this stuff is so like woo-woo, oh, it can happen for you, but not for me because of blah, blah, trust me, friends, I'm the most unlikely candidate for being an entrepreneur in a lot of ways. I sometimes find it really hard to, focus. If I don't find something interesting, I find it hard to focus. I am definitely not the most organized human in the world. I definitely have shortcomings. And so it's like to say, oh, like you can do it, but I can't. Hell no. You are not out of the running no matter what. If you want this, then say yes to yourself. Like it's kind of comforting to know that all of us will, you who's watching this right now, darling, you're going to be dead in 100 years, less than 100 years. And me too. We're not going to be here. So that's a kind of nice, like clear cookies on your computer, right? So anything that feels so risky, within 100 years, we don't have to deal with the consequences anymore. And so I would love to inspire you to move in the direction of your freedom. I cannot be more grateful to my mama who left law, a nice, stable profession, to be in the limelight, to be a singer, actress, comedian on a TV show, music CD. And her first business was called Follow That Dream. So, I was really lucky to have that kind of role model. But if I could be that for you, or if there's other people that inspire you to say, what you want matters. What you want matters, my darling. What you want matters. What you want matters a lot. It is your life. I don't give a rat's ass about should, supposed to, this is how it's done. Don't care. Let the people who are unhappy put the shoulds on themselves. I am, for all of the exhaustion, stress, risk, whatever, I could not be more internally peaceful about my direction and my path. That doesn't mean I always have certainty. It was really a scary thing moving from, one-on-one coaching, which was really stable, really comfortable. I could do it in my sleep. I'm really good at it. Other people really like it. They want more of it. Something that I really do naturally, to moving to a whole nother model. And there were a couple months where like I wasn't making a ton. And that was really scary because you sort of look back and you say, oh, did I make a mistake? Can I even go back? Did I burn the boats so that there are no like little boat chunks I could glue back together and make a boat and sail back? But the truth is there's no going back, and it's not necessary to go back. And by the way, if you really do want to go back, by the way, everything is figure outable. So, most things you can piece back together, but having had the experience of walking in the direction of your freedom will make everything shift, everything. And so I want you to commit to building your own dream. One of my favorite expressions is, If you don't build your own dream, someone else will pay you to build theirs. We get one life, and it's worthwhile building our dreams. The number one way to build freedom for yourself is to build a really strong reputation that walks into a room before you. Everybody's concerned with building their money empire. Build your reputation and influence empire. When you have influence, money comes at you. People want to work with you. People are trying to figure out how to make it work. People are, they really want you. And so that has to do, there's all kinds of authority. We're going to be talking about that. There's authority by association. There's authority through consistency. There's authority through personality. There's all different ways to build authority, especially if you'd like to be an online entrepreneur. Absolutely, it's all based on reputation and influence. So if you're kind of confused and you don't know exactly where to begin when it comes to how do I start, building my business, start off with building familiarity with people, building reputation, and you go with your best guess, okay? Listen, I would so love to say to you, there is a right direction for you, and you answer question A, B, C, and then I'll pump out the right answer for you. If you're not okay with improvisation, then we need to get okay with improvisation, because you don't have information until you do stuff. You just don't. I'm sorry. There are definitely strategic moves, and I will guide you. Do that. And a client that I'm working with right now, I worked with this morning. I have to say often, do this. No, don't do this. Don't waste your time on this. Yep, do this. Don't do this. Right? And that's a unique pleasure to be able to help her get to, where I am right now in a way shorter period of time. It's a real pleasure. But you have to get comfortable with the uncertainty of this. You have to realize that the process alone is worth it. So you moving in the right direction or in any direction is the right direction right now. Because you'll get information, and that information will help orient you and reorient you. So consistently put things out there into the world, see what sticks, see what people respond to. And building your reputation is really starting off with existing. Go jump into the session on the iceberg theory. That will really show you the strategy behind how you build influence. But build your safety nets, whether that means living at home if you're young, or cutting back on expenses, saying, I'm not going to go on a vacation this year. Instead, I'm going to do X, Y, Z. Build your fuck you money so that you don't have to deal with idiots, and try to let go of the thought mosquito. Who am I to be doing this? Who are any of us to be doing this? Who gave me authority to do this? No one. You have just as much authority as I do. And yet I've stepped into mine and I've accepted it. And I said, hell yes, I'm an authority on what I do. I have the 5-6 years of working for myself to back it up since I was 19 or 20 years old. But you start somewhere. You just freaking start. And I so believe in you. You don't need $1 million a year, $10 million a year, $20 million a year if that's not your freedom. If your freedom is I want to be an inventor and have a really cool garage filled with invention stuff, build your freedom. This is your life. It belongs to you. You deserve it. You deserve to have a life that you feel excited about. You deserve to wake up thinking, I cannot wait for what I'm doing today. I can't sleep because I'm so excited about what I do. And I want that for you so badly. So this is my loving offering to you. When you live honestly, when you honestly, unapologetically say what you want out loud, tell other people, it becomes more and more possible. You can absolutely, darling, have and do anything. And here's to building your vision of freedom for yourself. Love you, darling. I'll talk to you soon.